expression, right?
My name is Jordan Brooks. This is Kagan McIntyre, Ibrahim Solari, and Arabella Romero Diaga. And we're all here as part of our Street Law POE. Street Law is a clinical and literacy law program that is aimed at equipping law students with the necessary expertise to circulate the law among ordinary people or people who do not understand it. The Street Law program is thus designed to bridge the gap in understanding the law for ordinary people in a way that makes the law more accessible to them. We're excited to be here to discuss a topic that is both timely and crucial in the landscape of modern journalism and social media. In the digital age, social media has revolutionized the way we communicate and share information. It offers exceptional freedom to express opinions and engage in dialogue. However, this freedom carries substantial responsibility. As aspiring journalists and communicators, understanding the fine line between freedom of expression and hate speech is essential. In this presentation, we will address freedom of expression, an examination of its general meaning and its specific implications in the context of social media, including how it's protected and regulated, as well as hate speech and a discussion on what constitutes hate speech and how it intersects with freedom of expression, determining when it crosses into an unacceptable territory. Furthermore, we're going to discuss how this applies specifically to you, insights for future journalists on managing these issues responsibly along with ethical principles that should guide your professional conduct. If you guys wouldn't mind just scanning the QR code and filling in your student number and name, just so that we can keep record of attendance.
The information that you do give in this register is protected in terms of POPI, and your information will be processed securely and discarded from as soon as possible.
Does everyone have the code? Can I go to the next slide?
It's right on the level.
We also just want to give a disclaimer. The presentation is solely for academic purposes, and the content provided is designed to facilitate learning and discussion among students and the faculty. It should not be interpreted as targeting or directed at any specific individual, organization, or group. The information presented is generalized and may include hypothetical examples to illustrate key concepts in journalism. Any resemblance to real events or persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental, and the views expressed are for educational purposes and do not reflect the opinions or positions of any of the affiliated institutions.
How's it, guys? My name is Kagan. I'll be going through what is the freedom of expression. Like I said, we need you guys' participation, so we are going to bribe you guys. So can anyone tell me what, I know you guys are law module, can anyone tell me what the constitutional right to freedom of expression is? Anybody? You guys get a chocolate if you answer, and any answer is good.
You can take a guess.
Guys, guess.
What you're allowed to speak about.
There we go. Participation. Right. The constitutional right to freedom of expression, alright? I know you guys have done law modules, so I'm not going to bore you with what the Constitution is. However, Section 16(1), alright, gives us the right to freedom of expression. But does this mean that I have the rights to express myself in giving racial slurs or homophobic remarks, etc., etc.? In short, no. The right to freedom of expression is protected by the Constitution, okay? And it means that people are able to freely express and share their ideas, opinions, and thoughts. Alright, this includes freedom of press and media. When we did this, we thought you guys were purely journalism students, so that applies to you. It allows us to freely share and receive information, such as when you guys go on the internet. It's not restricted, not like North Korea. If we can access stuff, we can engage with platforms, right? Freedom for artists, we're allowed to express ourselves. Back in apartheid times, you couldn't illustrate certain things because, say, we take it away. Now you can. Academic and scientific freedom. In a democracy, it's very important for us to be able to advance ideas, to discuss things openly, and the freedom of expression protects that. Right, the limitation on the freedom of expression, alright? So this is 16(2), subsection 2, apologies. So while the Constitution does provide the freedom of expression, there are certain exclusions, right? Because your right to freedom of expression is limited by other people's rights to dignity, equality, and self-worth. So the freedom of expression does not include hate speech, inciting war, propaganda, immediate violence, and discrimination based on another person's race, ethnicity, religion, and gender. Right, why do we have this right? Love chocolate, guys. Anybody? Anybody at the back? Still a chocolate.
Guys, think about this. I'm interested.
I'm trying. Give me a second to get my brain away from chocolate.
Everyone within the country.
Giving me a second.
The crystal
No, that's what I want to answer. You're at the back, yes. Why do we have this right? What's the historical background to why we have this right? Where was the Kit Kat?
I could care less. With all the love, could care less. Due to due to the history of the world in general, how we have marginalized groups. Think of America, think of the entire Africa and all of that, and there was a lot of propaganda and hate speech against people of color and anyone against the quote-unquote norm. And so when democracy came about, everyone wanted to have a freedom of expression, a way of expressing their views, especially when they didn't have any views to express, but obviously there needs to be a point of conjecture, a point where there's a line, which is don't incite violence, propaganda, and all of that to keep democracy afloat in general.
Exactly. Kit Kat for you. Oh, sorry. So, why do we have the right to freedom of expression? Okay, so that was a very broad global example. I'm going to be focusing more on in South Africa, because it's a South African right, but in many other countries it is a very prominent right. So during apartheid, the government controlled and restricted a lot of media information, free speech and political expression. I mean, you can go look at old textbooks during the apartheid era. They were very, very confined. You go look at the news publications, it was very, very confined. This right ensures that we have access to open information so we can create our own ideas and perspectives on things. Alright? And this obviously resulted in a lot of suppression from the apartheid states so they could maintain and control the racial segregation. Right? So the right to freedom of expression functions to do more than just give us an opinion and allow us to express stuff. It is involved in maybe a larger picture, you could say, where it promotes democracy, exchanges ideas, not just on individuals, but as political groups. And it also functions as a way for us to hold the state accountable. You're going to Pick n Pay, you see a big headline on the newspaper, you guys know what that is, newspaper, oh, Cyril does this. It allows us to call people out, specifically our leaders, so that they know that their actions don't go unchecked. It also allows other people to practice their cultural and religious beliefs. It allows people to engage with what makes in them a singular identity. It encourages debates in classrooms and lectures, allows us open discussion in a safe environment. And lastly, it allows us for open discussions on social media platforms and to post our cool little photos on Instagram. Alright, awesome, thanks guys. I will now be passing on to my colleague Ibi, or Ibrahim, and he will be discussing how this applies to you guys. Forward and then the back button goes back.
Hi everyone, my name is Ibrahim. I know you guys are like fighting to be some kind of like, but just bear with me. I only have like a short 2 or 3 slides, so I'll try and get through it very quickly. So, starting off, section 16(1) of the Constitution. The right to freedom of expression is a constitutionally guaranteed right, which means that this right applies to everyone, and everyone is entitled to practice speech how they see fit, subject to the limitations in section 2. This right is important to uphold the democratic society where one can hold institutions accountable for things that they do. For example, the state capture inquiries, all of that is due to this right of freedom of expression. It has, so I have a vital question. How do you guys think it impacts just the individual and journalists or journalism students? Does have a Kit Kat up grabs?
Ask a question, no one's about to raise their hand. It's like bribery.
No, what was the question?
How does this affect the freedom of expression impact, well, journalism students or people as a whole, or journalists?
Please be careful when you throw that Kit Kat.
So,
Hit me in the face, it's fine.
okay, go for it. Yeah,
It means that while we can express our views, we also need to be careful about how we express it, especially in journalism. You have to be able to express something factually and without bias. Journalism students also need to learn this because when you're in the world, if you're putting out biased views, then you're not really a journalist, you're just an opinion writer.
Mm.
And that then spreads misinformation among the people. Partly correct. Fuck, I'm
No,
sorry,
it is
I'm
good,
still
it is good.
asleep,
No, it's good,
guys.
it's
I'm
good,
not
it's good,
doing. I'm just collecting.
So
all
what,
this
you got
at
2
this
or
point.
3 now?
2.
Okay.
Eventually, you guys are gonna be like, you can't answer anything because I've got like 6 Kit Kats across my desk.
So bear in mind that these slides were created because we thought we were giving a talk to journalism students, just to find you guys actually BA students in
We
English.
did journalism last semester.
So yeah. Also a
We
module.
basically do journalism at the end of the day.
Okay, cool. So this writer forwards one with the ability to report, challenge, voice, develop, explore, and weigh. The report one has the ability to report on societal issues. These are issues pertaining to our weak rand dollar situation, towards government issues. We don't have our roads fixed. We don't have running electricity. Some people struggle to even have running water, etc., etc. We are able to challenge authority. That means we are able to challenge the executive, challenge the people in power. We give a voice to the voiceless. The innocent guy on the side of the road, he got conned out of money, he got scammed, he's getting the short end of the stick. We're able to give him a voice, make him heard, make him feel some sort of way. Develop. Develop entails developing investigative and storytelling skills. Then you have explore, where you would explore diverse topics, writing unique perspectives that other people won't take, although factually correct, I hope. One must remember to weigh social responsibility and ethical responsibilities with the right to free speech. So it does place a duty on you, although it allows you to further develop your writing and storytelling skills. So this right is important, I would say, in South Africa to uphold a functioning democratic society, as I said before. There are many other countries who do not allow or do not provide this right to individuals, such as North Korea and China. North Korea has a population of 26.5 million people. About 1 in every 4 have access to a cell phone or own a cell phone. This vastly impacts, well, they don't have the right to freedom of expression. They are heavily governed, restricted, sanctioned. So this right allows us to post, publish memes about people in power, just general memes, talk nonsense about people, make fun jokes of people, etc., etc. Without this right to freedom of expression, we wouldn't be able to, firstly, have an article.
So wrong.
To have an article about the Farmgate scandal, Phala Phala Farmgate scandal, where there was about $600,000 to $5 million found in the couches of President Cyril Ramaphosa at his farm. You'd be able to make a meme where Cyril struggled to put his mask on for a couple of minutes on public television, which was hilarious, and I'm sure everyone had a laugh. Or have the story about state capture where essentially non-government officials were running the government, such as Mr. Gupta, and everything was being financed through Mr. Zuma, who also built a massive house with government money. We wouldn't be able to report on any of those, we wouldn't be able to criticize or evaluate or push our perspectives on what we think they're doing if we wouldn't afford it that right to freedom of expression. So it is an important right, although we must practice it responsibly. We must uphold our ethical obligations. We must be able to weigh our journalistic code of conduct, our moral code of conduct, our social responsibility to provide factual and accurate information
Not a question, I was just gonna start shit. I was just gonna start shit. Everyone here knows that I do this.
Oh, okay. Would you like to?
Didn't Zuma still get pissed off with the media when they were like talking about, because didn't they go on a tour around the house and like they were talking about all of these things that seemed excessive, and he got really pissy and he then went on and was like, no, it's my fire pool, and was trying to
Yes.
justify all of these things.
Yes.
But still was like pissed with the media, and I don't know if he did, but I think he tried to take some of the articles down. I know he got the meme of the Gangnam Style, but it was Nikanla Style, and it was a complete parody ripoff of him. I
Yeah.
know he tried to get that taken down, and a lot of them were, but
So some of them may have been taken down, but we do have this right that we afforded actually allows us to go quite far in our journalistic skills and our publishing. So yes, he had an issue, he was very upset, although that doesn't really matter. Those that are public figures are subject to more scrutiny. So if you think of it as like a sphere of privacy, the more you put yourself out there, the smaller that sphere gets. Your social, your personal life becomes public interest. Your activities are everyone's business. So this right is more limited in that sense. So yeah, any other questions? No? Okay, I'll be handing over to Arabella, my classmate, who will discuss some entertaining sketchworks and skits in tiny newspapers. So that's for you.
Okay, well, this kind of gives it away, but again, there's a Kit Kat up for grabs. So, can anyone tell me who Sapira is?
They are a cartoon artist that usually do fictional, like, they kind of do like criticism work for the government. They'll do like, they did one with Zuma and Shower. They've done a lot of different ones. They also have a few books out as well, just stories of South Africans in cartoon format.
That's pretty much right on the nail. I'm not gonna toss it. I'd rather. Thank you. I don't want any. But as you can see, Sapira is a cartoonist that is able to navigate the fine line between freedom of expression and hate speech. And I'm going to go more into depth of who he is. So Sapira is a prominent South African cartoonist, famous for his provocative and often controversial work. And due to this, he's been sued multiple times for his work, and his cartoons are often target high-profile individuals such as Zuma and the Showerhead meme, and controversial issues, which sometimes leads to legal challenges. The lawsuits that typically involve him revolve around accusations of defamation, hate speech, or infringement of rights. For instance, individuals or organizations who feel they have been unfairly portrayed or defamed. His ability to navigate the fine line between freedom of expression and hate speech can be attributed to several factors. Satire and commentary. Sapira's cartoons use satire to provoke thought on social and political issues, avoiding hate speech through exaggeration and critique. Context and intent. Sapira's work aims to critique public figures and institutions, not to incite hatred, which helps his cartoons remain protected as an expression rather than hate speech. Legal and ethical frameworks. In South Africa, freedom of expression is protected, especially for artistic work. Sapira's focus on political issues, rather than targeting specific individuals, aligns with legal and ethical standards. South Africa's strong protection for freedom of expression plays a crucial role in defending Sapira's work. His cartoons are seen as political and artistic expressions protected by the Constitution. Reputation and precedent. Sapira's reputation as a satirist using humor and exaggeration provides legal protection. Precedent supports his right to satirical expression, even if controversial. Public interest, as previously discussed. Sapira's cartoons often address public interest issues and hold powerful figures accountable. Courts consider the public interest and the role of satire in a democratic society in such cases. Politicians and celebrities, this is in regard, are more exposed to criticism and satire due to their role and accountability, and also with them being in the public eye. So they are generally expected. Alright. They are generally expected to tolerate a high level of criticism and negative commentary. The media and public are often granted more leeway to discuss and critique their actions and statements, reflecting the public's interest in holding such figures accountable, such as the Farmgate scandal.
Sorry to interrupt. Is this laptop what's concerning the presentation? The one in the front? Okay, sorry, never mind, because that's Steve just went off, so I was wondering, that's why.
It's over here.
It's okay.
It's supposed to be black.
Yeah, while public figures have less protection from public and media criticism, they still have legal recourse against hate speech. Public figures face a higher threshold in defamation cases. They must prove that the statements made against them were not only false, but also made with actual malice, the knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. I'm going to pass over to my colleague Jordan.
As we wrap up our presentation, we just want to cover the key points. We'll go over the key points that we've covered today. So the digital landscape is a powerful tool for expression, but it requires a nuanced understanding and a careful approach. It is crucial to differentiate between freedom of expression and hate speech. And understanding these boundaries helps us protect free speech while ensuring that harmful or discriminatory speech does not go unnoticed or unaddressed. As future journalists, you will play a vital role in navigating these challenges. Your ethical judgment, sensitivity to context, and commitment to accurate reporting are essential in upholding the values of freedom of expression and respect for others. As you move forward in your careers, remember that your voice and your choice matters, but can also have a powerful impact on the individuals in your community or any surrounding communities. Thank you for your attention and participation today. We hope that this discussion has provided valuable insights and sparked thoughtful reflection on the balance between freedom of expression and hate speech. We are now open for any questions or comments that you guys might have.
So you said freedom of expression, it blocks things like racial slurs and homophobia and et cetera. Is there a specific guideline for what constitutes that, or do you just sort of know, like, does it have to be like a stereotypical example of a racial slur, or I'm just interested.
I'll try and answer this question. So in regards to like slurs and that is just, I mean, it is straight up hate speech because it kind of infringes on one's right to dignity.
Okay.
And when you're calling someone a racial slur or homophobic slur, you are infringing that right directly. So that's why it constitutes hate speech, and it also has the propensity to incite violence against that marginalized group.
Okay.
Also, I would say like the element of reasonableness in what he said should be a defining factor.
Okay.
I think that should definitely be considered.
Okay.
Any other questions?
You?
Well, we have the right to freedom of speech, but with all of these limitations, in a country that is very full of it still, how do you think it's navigated? Because you can't put every person in like jail or fine them every time they say something, because there's so many comments that are still out there, and a lot of people who still feel certain ways and say racial things and say homophobic things.
Instagram comments.
So how exactly do you think we should navigate that, or how the media in the future should navigate that?
So it's quite difficult, obviously, to regulate individuals. For you to have an opinion, or for you to stand in the back of a classroom or on your private Instagram and start shouting out whatever, racial slurs, discrimination, etc. It's quite difficult. But media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, there's a reason why they have that report function. Okay, so if you've now taken offense, you can go and report Ethan's comment, okay, about, I don't know, short people. And you can go do that.
Ethan, how dare you?
I'm sorry, guys.
Take no offense.
Okay, fine, against all people. And you can go and report it. Then that company has the duty then to go investigate to see where the guideline is. So you as an individual, it's quite difficult to regulate what Ethan thinks, what Ethan says. Okay, I'm only picking on him because I went to high school with him. But it's a lot easier for you to check a company. So if a company's not published something, there's a lot of companies, especially Like a harmless example is like the Coca-Cola and the Pepsi one, where the Pepsi's wearing a Coca-Cola cape, right, to show one is superior than the other. However, when you start doing it with individuals, not products, okay, it becomes a lot more controversial. Although yes, it's great for marketing, but there is a line to be drawn. And where companies do overstep that line, like Superior, you get taken to court, and then it's no longer in the interest of, oh, you've offended people, it's in the interest of justice and your public good.
I'd also just like to add to that, besides the legal implications, if you think about any tweet, like any civilian has tweeted, there's a lot of mob justice involved, whether that be doxing, whether that be cancel culture. So even without the legal implications of being able to legally hold the person accountable, there will be societal impacts from that, which I think in a sense is its own justice. Yes.
Can I say, wouldn't you say that it has to be like a specific racial slur? Because like if you just take offense to it, a lot of people can take offense to anything, like you said, being tall or short, like Ethan saying something. But that's not a racial slur, or like a homophobic slur. That's not like a specific. That's not a specific like hate form of. Okay, it's a form of hate speech if you take offense to it, but it's not saying like and saying a specific word towards it. So how would you take legal action towards that?
Basically, unless he doesn't say the word midget in a derogatory way.
I can answer that. If you look at what the Constitution protects in terms of dignity, it's gender, race, religion, sexuality. I don't think height is mentioned in the Constitution, so I think
I stand up here and start throwing things.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if within the realm of the Constitution, I think if it pertains to those aspects like dignity, race, religion, things like that, I think you can get away with it. It's not nice, but I don't think there'll be any legal implications.
I also think like when taking such a matter to court or leaving it in the interest of justice, usually the reasonable factors brought in again. How would a reasonable person in a similar situation react to such a slur or to the statement that the person made? So when comparing it to a reasonable person and the reaction that was encountered, they'll compare that and they make a decision based on that.
I think that Ethan and a few other people had like that question about where it goes, like where it stops and what's considered as a slur with all of that thing. It makes a lot of sense though if you look at it like social media as speaking like you would speak to that person in real life, because some words would cause a violent altercation to happen between you guys, and you would only say it between them if you were about to start fighting that person. Like you said about causing violence through the language to the person. So like, it's almost like a social media version of preventative fighting between people or something like that. Like breaking up those fights before they happen, I guess.
Hypothetical scenario. I'm scrolling through social media. I see somebody post something that is explicit hate speech, goes against freedom of speech, goes against the Constitution. I see it, I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. I call the place of work and tell them. I'm like, hey, your employee is saying racist things online. They get fired. Can I get sued for defamation?
So, generally, when it comes to defamation, only works when things under correction. Yeah, it's been a while since we did personal law, but as far as I know, defamation only works to the point where it's untrue. So if you tell somebody they're a racist, they say, right, you've caused me patrimonial loss, that's financial loss, then it only works if it's untrue. So if someone is a racist and you've called them a racist and you phoned their work and said, hey, listen, Ethan is a racist. I'm ensuring engagement here. But if it's true, then the person can be held accountable for their actions, especially when they're representing a company or a brand. Even if it is in their off time, if it can be linked back to them, it tarnishes a certain brand. And so if it is untrue, then fine. I mean, if it is true, then fine. If it is untrue, though, then you can't obviously sue somebody for defamation because the statement is true and you now need to be held accountable for your actions.
Furthermore, the one who makes the accusation must give proof towards the accusation. So if a stranger calls in and says this guy's making racial remarks and is offending a whole bunch of people, he must prove it. And the burden of proof is not on the one who's being accused. It's not the one who's accusing.
Okay, interesting.
Stranger at the back.
I'm gonna put you guys on the spot. I know it's been a while since it's specific
Warmed up for this
offences.
one, yes.
Perhaps explain criminalia? Or defamation.
I can try.
Girls'
Jordan, come take sense.
Okay.
Thank you, Jordan,
We
for
did
perfect.
a little ice tasking class, and I had to pretend I was a waitress, and my partner was a Karen, and she called me out in front of the whole restaurant and my management and my colleagues. And what recourse does this? So the Karen came to speak to me and said, like, I don't understand why I'm wrong. Like, basically looking for legal advice. So criminal
Criminalia.
is basically when you impair someone's dignity or embarrass them or make them feel like, yes, exactly. So in like a public setting. So if you call someone out in public and I'm like, you're so freaking tall, like, what is wrong with you? Or what? I'm also tall, so it's fine. You also have recourse in like criminalia. Because I've impaired your dignity and made you feel embarrassed in a public setting. So that also goes for it. I wanted to go back on your point. So it's on a like a balance or not weighing up, but like the H&M advert, they might have not said a slur, but everyone could see that advert and be like, this is really offensive. But someone coming up to me and being like, you're really weird, you're tall, or whatever. It's what a normal or an ordinary person would be able to distinguish what is offensive and what is not. Like that H&M advert, like I think maybe a couple of people looked at that and was like, I don't care. But majority of people would look at that advert and be like, that is offensive, even though they haven't put the N-word on like a jersey, and it's like blatantly in your face. But it's easy for a normal person to like.
So wasn't that shampoo that there was all that clicks and then
And the Dove advert as well.
With the taking off the top, yes.
yeah, so it's also like based
it
on
was-
perspective, what does majority of people find? Does majority of people find it offensive? Does somebody who's not sensitive, a reasonable person, find this offensive?
Now, what about when the last season of Bridgerton came out and they wrote so many articles about the main character being gaslighted, and they just said how they didn't want to see something like that on TV, and there was no repercussions, no anything on those articles.
Always gonna
Well,
have.
I think it goes back to also, yes, it's offensive. However, is it like,
Does it cross the line?
does it cross the line in the sense of what can be discussed? Like for instance, as I've mentioned previously, race, religion, sexuality, gender, things like that are heavily protected by the Constitution. However, things like weight, height, and stuff like that aren't necessarily legally protected. So yes, it is offensive, but it won't necessarily have any legal repercussions, more societal than anything.
Another thing, the lead cast of Bridgerton is also subject to further scrutiny.
Because they're public figures.
Exactly. So like I was saying, that sphere becomes smaller. So people will poke like that, but at the end of the day, it's more so their preference. They prefer not seeing somebody who's plus size, no offense to them, on their screens, and would rather see someone else. That is preference, that is their choice. It's not really, although that person may have been offended, the lead actress, they are subject to such scrutiny, and people do have the platform to make such validations. They don't want to see this person, they don't want to see that person.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna. In the case, do you guys remember the painting of the spear? Yeah. So I was just wondering, because I don't know. Do any of you guys remember the outcome of what happened if the artist did get in trouble? If he didn't,
No, I don't think he did.
did he not? Because I remember that was also like a
I think
whole
he was
drawn
within,
out
I think
case.
he was within his confines.
Okay. Yeah. Sort of same vibe as Sapphira.
Guys, also you just need to remember, like my colleague Evie said, like there is some stuff that, I mean, everybody is sensitive in different ways, depending on your background, what you've experienced in your life. And just because you take offense to something doesn't mean that it's violated set grounds. Earlier in the presentation, I know it was quite far back, and been here a minute, but Section 16 of the Constitution, it lays out many grounds. I think there's probably close to 20 grounds that you can take stuff on. And when you take things to court, they generally weigh things up on public interest and what you're saying. So if you say this is offensive, they go, okay, cool, but would the greater public find it offensive or just you? So like with the Bridgerton thing, it's a case of, well, you may take offense to it, but if it's 1 out of 52 million or whatever it is, then it's not one of those grounds, it is quite difficult to sort of say, listen, this is unacceptable. Those grounds are established, so it's quite easy to pick and choose, and often, like with all the different shampoo bottles and the H&M thing, sometimes it's not direct, sometimes it's inferred, and it does make things difficult, but it is quite a hot discussion topic, because you have to now go and say, alright, okay, but why is this wrong? Because obviously people want to provoke when it comes to marketing as well. So you just have to take all those things, and it is quite a controversial thing you guys can address.
Any other questions? We have one more chocolate left. So,
Alright.
if anyone has valid input, you can get more chocolate.
As part of our street law, we guys just need some feedback. If you guys wouldn't mind just taking 3 seconds to scan that and tell us how great we are. We would really appreciate it. For those of you who got chocolate, that's great. For those who didn't, womp womp. I think,
Yeah, the
give it to
first
the next
one.
one.
Actually, you like this?
Who, me?
Oh, yes.
Gotcha.
My aim, my capture is not good. Well done, guys.
Anybody have a chance to scan it?
Also, for those who weren't able to do the attendance register, we'll just put that back up on screen now. It's one of the first slides. There we go.
Anybody who was late, I wouldn't mind just scanning it as well. Thanks, guys. Alright, sure, guys.
Cool.
Thank you so much for you guys' time.
Thank you all. Thank you for engaging.
No problem. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Then maybe.
Thank you very
And
much.
to tie it to
Recording.
Not you.
This is our